Okay, so we're doing another one of these, and I can't decide if I feel worse or if I feel better, because I'm still like very stuffed up, which is fine, but I'm not as stuffed up as what I was. But a new thing is the fact that my ears freaking hurt, and I can handle anything except for my ears hurting. Don't ask me why, but like when my ears start hurting, I drop. It's like, nope, can't do it anymore. Cannot handle that shit. But anyway, we're gonna be doing some stuff and doing another rambling video. So, hi. If you are new to my channel, because we do have a new subscriber, hi, welcome. I don't know if you want your name broadcasted across YouTube, but so I'm not gonna say your name, but you know who you are. My name is Shanna. I normally do makeup videos, and normally, like, I'm gonna be quite frank, like, I have COVID, so that's why this is called the ramblings of somebody in quarantine. I don't normally upload this often either, but yeah, let's just do this. So what I want to talk about today is the stupidity and judgmentalness of people in general, like just humans in general. Because I have nothing better to do right now than like fold laundry and do dishes, which I still need to do. I need to do both of those things right now. I just cannot be bothered to get up the gumption to do it. I need to do that. And then I watch like YouTube videos, and so I'm kind of like a little bit low-key, slightly sick of just watching like normal makeup content. So I started watching documentaries, like many documentaries. One was on the white volcano disaster that happened a couple years ago, and then one was on the Andes mountain crash that happened, I want to say like 40 or 50 years ago, because these people are all in their 60s now, and they were teenagers when it first happened. So we're gonna talk about the white volcano disaster first, because that one was more recent. Basically what happened is these people, I think it was like 45 or 46 people, went on a tour that was part of a cruise, or they were just going on a tour, and they went to White Island, which is a volcano off the shores of Australia, is what I'm understanding. Stupid phone. But basically, they went to a volcano, and it was supposed to be an inactive volcano. Well, all of these people didn't know, but like the tour guides did, and the cruise company did, and the tour company knew, is the fact that instead of being at a level, I don't think it's supposed to do that. Instead of being at like a level 1, which is pretty much dormant, it was at a level 2 and had been at a level 2 for weeks. And they had been talking about how it had unusual levels of activity and could go level 3, which is an exploding ass volcano, at any time. Rather than telling anybody this, the people went on the island, and some of them knew it was about it. Some of them, it was just like a spur of the moment thing. This is chunky. Ooh. Some of them knew it was a volcano and knew about the fact that it was like at whatever. You know what I'm trying to say. Some of them knew more about it than others, because this was like a planned trip versus like a spur of the moment thing. They got on the island, or on the volcano, and there's steam pockets everywhere. I mean, like, there's a lot of pockets of steam. There's a lot of gases escaping, and they're on the island for not even, from what I can understand, not even an hour. Like, I don't even think it was an hour. I think it was like 30 minutes, not even. And it starts exploding. Black shit's coming out of the volcano. They've got, like, ash is coming up, but it's just black smoke. One of those people said it was so bad I could not see my hand in front of my face. So all everybody hears is a tour guide yell, "Run." And everybody starts running. But you can't really outrun an exploding volcano. You can outrun lava, but you can't outrun exploding ash and debris. So some of the people end up hunkering down. Like, they get behind a little bit of shelter as much as they can. And they have boiling ass hot shit falling on them, okay? Boiling hot, like hot, I mean, it's lava. It's out of a volcano. Hot ass stuff falling on them. But they're gonna wait it out. They're gonna try and wait it out. They're gonna try and wait it out. It stops. And, you know, it's done. Like, the volcano is done erupting. So then off the mainland, there are these amateur search and rescue people. Like, they're volunteers. They don't do this all the time. They get in their helicopter and go to help, right? At this point, you have people dead. Like, some people are dead already. Some of the people made it off the island and back onto the tour boat and made it the 90-minute drive, or yeah, the 90-minute boat ride back to the mainland. And one of the people who did that said it was excruciating. He says, you know, you were burned head to toe, and you've got open air on your wounds. You've got the sun in your wounds. You have salt water going in your wounds. So this was not a pleasant trip back. But they got back and they went to the hospital. And then you have, I should have grabbed a mirror, let me tell you. And then you have these two people who are volunteers in their helicopter trying to get to where the other volcano victims are at. And they get there and they're like, help is on its way. 20 minutes. They are on the island, okay? They were like dangerously close to where the volcano had just erupted, but they were on the island. And they kept telling the survivors, you know, 20 minutes, 20 minutes, 20 minutes, 20 more minutes. And then they get the call that says, the search and rescue team aren't coming to help. What? So these people, I'm talking to the camera, Connie. So these people, these amateurs, okay, they're not, these volunteers have to try and get 16 more people who are very badly injured off this island, off this volcano. They are covered head to toe in burns. All right. In burns. And they have to try and move them themselves. One of the girls, okay, one of the survivors, she's so badly burned that her name is Stephanie Barlow, I believe. And she has like a YouTube channel, and then she has a TikTok, she said, to try and bring awareness to like burn victims and everything. But more than 70% of her body is covered in burns. Her dad, according to the two pilots, her dad said, get my daughters first. So they load up his kids, then they load up him, and then, you know, they're just trying to get as many people into their helicopter as possible. And then they make the 20-minute drive or flight back to the island to the hospital. Search and rescue never came. never came, and the director of search and rescue says it's because it's too dangerous. It's too dangerous for search and rescue, but it's perfectly okay for these 2 volunteers to do it. What the fuck? And this is kind of where we get into, like, the topic of today's video, which is the stupidity of man. Not the, like, the actual gender man, but, like, men, humans, whatever, our species. Whatever you want to call them. Just how stupid we can fucking be. Because they could have gone on the island. They even admitted that. Like, they said later in this 60-minute Australia thing I was watching, they said we could have gone on there sooner. But you're gonna listen to yourself when you can't see what's going on that island. You're going to ignore the lives of people that you're supposed to be helping. And ignore the fact that there are already 2 people who are on that island helping. It's too dangerous for you to go. But it's perfectly okay for you, the professional, to rely on these 2 people who don't know really what they're doing. The 2 pilots said we had a first aid kit, like a basic ass first aid kit. That's all they had to try and help 16 people who were on the island. 16 or 20 people that were on the island. Explain that to me. There is no excuse good enough. So many people died on that island initially with the explosion. And then, the girl's dad, her sister, Stephanie's sister, passed away. Stephanie's sister passed away before the rescuers even got there, from what I understand. Like, or shortly thereafter, she passed away. Stephanie's dad ended up a few weeks later succumbing to his wounds, and he also passed away. Somebody's son, another survivor's son, passed away from the burns on his back. He didn't make it. And the father, you know, Stephanie and this dad whose son passed away, they were both in comas. They were put into medically induced comas for weeks. The father was in a coma during his son's funeral. So he didn't even get to go say goodbye to his son for the last time. And I'm flabbergasted because this dude, the search and rescue team lead, whatever you want to call him, the boss, is sitting on TV talking about how they couldn't go because it puts their lives at risk. But and I'm not saying, like, I don't appreciate search and rescue people, but, like, it's your whole job to go help people in need. That is your whole job description. And maybe you're not supposed to take unnecessary risks, but if there are 2 amateurs in that, then your ass can be there too. I'm sorry, that's how I feel about the whole situation. Anyway, it's stupid, and the guy got to keep his job. That's the other thing, is like this person who didn't even do his job, who ended up causing the death, and maybe he didn't cause the death of everybody, maybe that was the fucking volcano that initially caused the death, but like maybe Stephanie's sister would have survived had she gotten help sooner. Maybe Stephanie's dad would have survived had he gotten help sooner. Maybe Chris, because the young man, his father, the guy, I'm babbling now. The father who lost his son, the son's name was Chris. Maybe Chris would have been alive if they had gotten there sooner. Like, we don't know what would have happened because they didn't get there till 2.5 hours after the explosion. And by then, everybody had already been rescued. Everybody had literally already been rescued. Either by the boat that took them there, or by the 2 people who did the search and rescue job for them. So I don't understand, like, the stupidity, because it was a horrible thing that could have been avoided. The cruise ship that Stephanie and her family were on knew about the risks of the volcano and didn't disclose that information until after they were already on the volcano. Explain that to me. They knew the risks and didn't tell anybody until they were already on the island. I don't understand that. That's just stupid. That's a stupid risk. Why would you do that? And then the other person, the search and rescue dude, I'm sorry, but he should be sued too and have his job taken away. Or at least be knocked down to somebody who's not in charge of making life and death decisions. Because obviously he doesn't care. Well, that's kind of harsh. Maybe he does care, but like, maybe he just shouldn't be in charge. But yeah, so that's like kind of the stupidity. Like, how dumb do you have to be to not disclose the information that could kill somebody? Did kill people. 45, I think it was like 45 people went on that trip, and there were less than 20 survivors. More than half the people who went on that island died. Explain that to me. I don't understand, like, the stupidity. You know, nobody can stop an exploding volcano. But if the tour guide company, if the cruise ship company, if they could have said, hey, you know, we're gonna cancel this trip because there's more unusual activity, there's higher than usual activity for the volcano, it's liable to explode, we don't want anybody going on that. Like, how hard would that have been? You would have had to give them back their money. What do you fucking do? Give them back their money and save people's lives. And then if it ended up being nothing, okay, fine. You know what? But at least they'd be alive. And then the guy who got to keep his job, when I tell you, he was sitting on screen, and the interviewer was a lady, and she was not having any of his shit. Let me tell you what. She was asking him all kinds of questions and stuff. And she says, basically, I thought this was funny. She said, basically, what you did was you relied on 2 people to do your job for you. And he tried to defend his decision and say, no, he did not. You know, he recognizes the fact that what they did was very brave, but he was not relying on them to do it. And then he admits that he could have gotten there sooner. You're really gonna sit there and defend your decision that cost countless people their lives? You're gonna sit there and defend that decision, you know, because you decided to listen to people who weren't on the island over 2 people who were on the island and told you, yeah, we landed just fine, it's done erupting, at the moment we need help. That's sheer stupidity to me. You know, maybe he wouldn't have been able to make a difference when it came to saving people's lives, but maybe he could have. You know, we don't know now because he chose not to do his job. And that's exactly what it is he chose not to do his job. Can I find a clean brush? That would be lovely. I really need to wash all my brushes, you guys. So it's just, seems to be a bit foolish to me that you, I don't know. So that was like the first stupid instance I want to talk to you guys about. The second one is the Andes situation. So if I'm like too young for this to actually remember this happening, but I know about it because I had to do it for a psychology class, and when I was watching this documentary on it on YouTube. Basically, let me get out my notebook and set the scenes, because I wrote this down. Let me set the scenes. So it was a 7 News Spotlight documentary, and this is like one of the most dangerous life and death like survival situations ever. The Andes Mountain, to set the scene, has got 15,000 foot peaks. Okay, like I think that's pretty close to, what would that be, 5,000 meters or more? Pretty close, something like that. My conversion math is not the best, okay, don't judge me. But so it's got giant peaks. It is it's actually the largest mountain range in the world. Like the actual largest mountain range in the world. And hold on, I cannot apply foundation and do this. I apologize. It's the largest mountain range in the world, and 15,000 foot peaks. Nothing lives there, okay? There's no animals, there's no plant life, there's nothing. Nothing lives there. Why is my eyeshadow so fucking wonky today? But anyway, nothing lives there, all right? These people were teenagers. They were on their way on a tour for rugby. And they were, like I just said, they were on a tour for rugby, and they were trying to, what's the good word for it? I don't know. They were just like a bunch of high schoolers on tour for rugby. They were kind of spoiled kids, you know, and I don't mean that to be rude. Like, they admitted it themselves. They were spoiled. Once I had my breakfast brought to me every morning. I wasn't even a Boy Scout. I knew nothing about survival. So these kids, because that's what they were, these kids are going around the world for a rugby tour. And they don't know anything about survival. The pilot who had done this, had done it 20 other times successfully. What it is the fact that due to bad weather, they had to cancel the day. So they had to leave a day late on Friday the 13th. They left on Friday the 13th, you guys. And how do I say this? They left on, I'm going to keep repeating myself because I'm losing my train of thought. They left on Friday the 13th, and let me get my notebook really quick. I cannot remember this and do this at the same time. It was 1972, and they were a bunch of schoolmates. They were on a rugby tour on a chartered plane from Uruguay to Chile. Friday the 13th, the pilot went south to cross the Andes, and he had made the same flight 20 or 29 other times. Due to severe cloud coverage, they left a day late. So they left on Friday the 13th. When they were flying, when the pilot was flying, he thought he passed the tallest peak, and then he turned to go into Chile, is what I'm understanding. He turned too soon and was still in Argentina, and that's when the crash happened. He hit a peak. The pilot hit a peak. Yeah, due to severe cloud coverage and low visibility, he returned too soon and hit the mountain range. 12 people out of 45 people died in the initial plane crash, okay? So one of the people said he went into a coma right away. Like, he flew back, hit his head, and was in a coma for 3 days. The only reason he survived the coma is because his schoolmates thought he had died and put his head outside with the rest of the dead people. And the cold kept his brain from swelling too much. So that's what saved his life. They don't have anything for this. They have no survival skills. There's no wood for a fire. There's nothing. They don't have any food. They're not wearing warm clothes. They have nothing. Absolutely nothing in terms of survival gear. Okay. The survivors actually said it was strange to look down at their dead friends because they are wearing the same clothes. Like, it could have easily, the people who survived, they could have very easily ended up dead. They probably should have ended up dead just due to the circumstances that they were in. So by day 2, not day 2. Okay, so a point to me that is kind of dumb, like, this is kind of why I started doing this video anyway. People criticized them for not burying their dead friends. It's negative 35 degrees outside, okay? It's below 0. It's all snow. Where the fuck are they supposed to bury them? There's no dirt for them to bury them with, and the ground is too frozen anyway. All right? Like, there's no way for them to bury their friends and their loved ones. The guy who had the coma, he woke up just in time to find out that his mom had died in the initial crash, and then his sister was so severely injured. She was dying. He woke up just in time to sit with his little sister while she died. And people are judging them for not burying the dead. There's no way for them to bury them. And if people don't understand that, then, like, you are fucking dumb. Let me tell you. So there's that. And then the only things they had to eat were a bottle of white rum and 2 bars of chocolate. And like I said, they had no warm clothes and no survival gear. Day 2, these kids got up all their hope because day 2, 2 planes flew over them and didn't see them. So the rescue had just flown over them. By day 10, the search had been called off because the world just assumed that they were dead. The world assumed that they were dead. So imagine that. You're stuck in the Andes. There's nothing to eat. There's no food. There's no water. Your friends and loved ones are dead and dying all around you. And you just found out that the world has basically said, fuck you. We're not going to keep looking anymore. Okay, imagine how you feel at that point. and then they found out, like, Mother Nature wasn't done with them yet. Because on day 18, I'm sorry, I have to keep reading my notes. On day 18, there was an avalanche. So they were buried, literally buried underneath the snow. And some of them, you know, one guy talked about how he had a pleasant warm feeling in between his legs because he had just wet himself, and how he knew he was going to die. The only reason they didn't die is because somebody didn't get buried and went around unburying people as quickly as they could. So in the space of 4 minutes, they saved the 16 people. More and more people were dying. Like, I mean, they were losing survivors left and right because of the conditions of the weather. And they ultimately had to make the decision about who to send across the Andes, okay, to get help. And they had to be strong enough to get there. I mean, the only source of protein, we already know there's no fruit, there's no vegetables, there's no carbs, there's no nothing. The only thing that they have is protein from the dead bodies of their friends and family. And so the guy whose sister and mom had passed away said, I'm going to go eat the pilot. You know, so they started cannibalizing the dead bodies. It was cold. It was raw flesh. There was no way to cook it even. And I think they waited a couple days for the people to get, like, some strength up. And one of the people who went with them said, you know, I would have rather have died trying to get help than to die doing nothing, to just wait for death. And so these two people cross the Andes. It's negative 28 to negative 35 degrees out. They finally get across the Andes to where there is help. And they talk about having the bread. Like, this farmer or worker threw them across some bread, and they remember that being, like, the best bread they've ever had in their entire life. And how they knew they were going to be safe. Now, they went back and got their friends. And it was a very joyful reunion, but also a very sad reunion, because the father asked the guy whose mom and sister had died, his dad was there, and he's like, where's mom and sissy? And he had to tell his dad they didn't make it. And then, where's my pencil at? Hold up. Okay, don't ask about the lashes. I still have to fix them. I'm waiting for the glue to finish drying down, though. But anyway. So, they're rescued, and they get somebody to go back to get their teammates and their friends. So everybody that is alive is rescued. Out of 45 people, there were 16 survivors. And the news, people are so happy that they're alive, yada, 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 so happy, so happy. And then the news people start asking them questions. And one of the questions that's asked is, what did you eat? How did you survive? What did you eat? And everybody looks at each other and says, we're not going to answer that. Okay, well, when the bodies were retrieved, it was pretty evident what they had been eating. And I'm not judging them. Please don't take my tone as being judgmental. It's not. So the news, when it was found out what these kids had been eating, what they had been forced to eat, these kids were destroyed in the newspapers and in the media. They were called all kinds of names, monsters, everything, like everything under the sun that could be applied to them, they were called. And that's where I think it's the stupidity of man. Because what were they supposed to eat? You know, like there was literally nothing, absolutely nothing there for them to eat, but they were being destroyed in the media for it. So that was fun. And so these people, you know, eventually they grow up the rest of the way. They go on to have careers. One of the survivors became a very famous race car driver, I guess. I don't know him, but I don't really pay attention to racing. He goes on to become a very famous race car driver. Another one goes on and gives lectures about what happened. You know, he tells the tale of survival and how they survived and how it affected them. Because if you think that you can do that type of stuff and not be affected, you're crazy. But he tells the tale of how they were affected, what it was like having people call them all these types of names and stuff. And you know, that's how he did it. They all went on to have families, you know. Oh, that's actually on there pretty good. And then one of the other survivors went on to become a heart doctor for children. He dedicated his life to helping kids. And I think that's amazing. I really, really do. Why I'm putting this whole thing into the stupidity of man is even today, with all the knowledge that we have of what they would have had to have gone through to survive, people are still calling them monsters and saying, I could never eat a dead person. No, it's not the fact that you could never. You hope you're never in the situation where you have to make that decision. Otherwise, if they didn't decide to eat the dead bodies, their only options were death. And maybe to some people, dying would have been a better option. You know, maybe that can be a valid point. Dying would have been a better option. I don't understand how dying could be a better option, but it's not me. And quite frankly, you will never know what you will do in that type of a situation until you are in that situation. So for people to judge them for doing what they had to do to survive is a bit childish and stupid to me, quite honestly. Like, you don't know how you would have survived. You don't know what you would have done. And do people honestly think they got some sort of kick out of having to eat their dead friends and colleagues? I mean, do you really think they got some sort of enjoyment out of that? I don't think they did. You know? And honestly, like, to everybody who's ever called them monsters and stuff, you know, you don't know.
I'll take you a shower, bears outside.
Okay. You don't know what you would do in that situation until you're in that situation. You hope. You can pray to God or whatever religion you follow, whatever being of power is your religion. You can pray that you are never in a situation where you have to do that. That's all you can do. But to blame somebody else for doing what they had to do to survive is just dumb as hell. You know, we don't blame people who are victims of assault, for, you know, killing their captors. We don't blame them for that. It was what they had to do to survive. So blaming these kids for doing what they had to do to survive, I think, is just as dumb as blaming people for, in other situations, for doing what they had to do to survive. That's my opinion. You don't have to agree with it. That's fine. But that's my opinion. And I think, if, quite frankly, if you think otherwise, I mean, you are obviously entitled to your own opinion. Go on and have your own opinion. That's totally fine. I don't care. Your opinion at the end of the day doesn't really matter to me, because obviously I've formed my own opinions based on what I've seen. But if you think that what they did was an easy choice for them to make, if you think that they are some type of way for having done what they had to do to survive, I think you're foolish and naive and blessed in a way. Because you've never had to be in a situation like that. And I'm not saying that I have. I've never had to be in a situation where I've had to do that, and I hope I never am. You know, but I'm not going to judge somebody who has been in that situation, because I very much doubt they got on the plane and was like, you know what, I hope we crash into a 15,000 foot peak today, and we are told we're not being rescued after 10 days, and that the world forgets about us for the most part, and that I hope I'm forced to cannibalize my friends. I very much doubt they got on the plane and we're like, that's what I want to happen today. I doubt it. So, I just think people are dumb for judging people for doing what they have to do to survive. Ultimately, they did what they had to do. And some of them went on to make big differences in the lives of other people. So I think that's pretty cool. But anyway, let's set the face really quick. But anyway, that is it for today's video, you guys. I'm actually pleasantly surprised with how this turned out. I'm very pleased with the fact that the lashes are on mostly correctly. That makes me very happy. Oh, this one just popped off. Never mind. Anyway, you guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please do not forget to subscribe, and I will see you in my next one. But yeah, anyway, I don't know why I'm going to keep talking after I just finished my intro or my outro. But yeah, I guess like the whole point of this is, one, don't judge people for decisions that they have to make to survive. And two, like, help somebody if you can, you know, like that. Oh my God. And I hope that, and okay, so I really, really hope, because right now the people who were in that volcano accident are in the middle of a lawsuit for suing Royal Caribbean. I hope they sue that one dude for in that medical facility for not coming out and helping them. I really, really do hope that that happens, because it needs to happen. Like, that guy should not be in charge of making life and death decisions if he's gonna try and do that type of shit. Absolutely not. But anyway, see you guys in the next one. Bye.